This past November, the President of the United States convened a conference in Annapolis. At the end of that conference, it was unanimously decided by the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Americans, and everyone else who was there, that Israel was going to be giving up the vast majority, if not all, of Judea and Samaria. This is terrible. And what I'd like to explain to you in the next few moments is why. What is the significance of the so-called peace process that is now going on, the negotiations that are currently being held between Israel and the Palestinians? When they talk about Israel giving up territory, when they talk about Israel occupying territories, what is it they're always talking about? Let me show you first of all on the map. This is the map of the center of Israel. Jerusalem is over here, the Mediterranean Sea, the Dead Sea. Galilee is off the map in the north, and the Negev is off the map in the south. As you'll notice, in the center of the country is an area that is enclosed by a green line. This is the area that is often referred to in the media by dignitaries as the West Bank. In fact, this is biblical Judea and Samaria. Judea is in the south, Samaria is in the north. Many people refer to this area as occupied territories. When you hear the word occupied territories, you probably imagine an area of land somewhere off there in the middle of nowhere. In fact, as you can see, it is in the middle of Israel. But perhaps even more important, this is the biblical and spiritual center of Israel. When God spoke to Abraham for the first time and told him to leave his homeland, to go to the land that I will show you, Abraham came here, and his first stop was right here in Elon Moreh, near Shechem. And it was on that hilltop that God spoke to him and told him, I will give this land to your children. Abraham then proceeded to walk south. And he ended up in Bethel, where he built an altar. And he settled in Hebron in the south. And in Hebron, he made the first Jewish purchase of real estate when his wife Sarah died, and he bought a cave and a field in order to bury her. For centuries, this was the very heartland of biblical Israel. The old city of Jerusalem is Zion. When we talk about being Zionists, we talk about yearning to return to Zion, to Israel, to Jerusalem. These are the places we're talking about. And yet these are the very places that the nations of the world are talking about Israel giving away. These are the very places that the nations of the world say Jews have no business being there. If Jews have no business being in Hebron, if Jews have no business being in Samaria, if Jews have no business being in Jerusalem, then where do they belong? For this indeed is the heart and soul of the land of Israel. At Christian Friends of Israeli Communities, we are reaching out to Christians all over the world in order to enable them to understand the significance of the current events regarding the Middle East, and even more importantly, in order to enable you to partner with us, to join hands with us as we struggle to hold on to this land, as we struggle to ensure that the land of Israel, the entire land of Israel, remains in the hands of the Jewish people. I live in Samaria. I was born in the United States, but I moved to Israel 24 years ago because I knew that this was my homeland. And I did not move to Tel Aviv, I moved to Samaria. Because for me, as I look out my window and I see the mountains surrounding me, I know these are the very mountains that Abraham walked as he traveled south from Shechem to Hebron. I know that these are the very mountains where the kings of Israel walked, where the prophets of Israel walked. And it is this land that I've come to love with a love deeper than anything I can imagine. I've raised 5 children here. I built my home here. I live in a community here. and I intend to stay here forever. And I hope that you will join us. I hope that each and every one of you will do whatever you can to help us hold on to biblical Israel.